What are the Jets doing right now? What are they doing in the front office right now, Albert? As we talk?
Well, so obviously they get the news this morning. My understanding at some point today, it may have already happened, that Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas and the powers that be there are going to sit down and talk through their options. Obviously there are some veteran names out there, some big names out there that you would think you might place a call to, just, exploratory, like your Tom Brady, your Phillip Rivers, your Matt Ryan, who's in the booth now. I don't think that I don't think that that's at the top of their list of things to do, but like that'd be something that you would discuss in a meeting like that. And then the next level of it is that you start to talk about veteran names that are out there that might be a backup to Zach Wilson and an option to start if things don't go well with Zach Wilson. And there are a couple of guys out there now that Joe Douglas has experience with from his years in Philadelphia, and Carson Wentz and Nick Foles. And so I think the likelihood is that they go and get a veteran backup for Zach Wilson and kind of the break glass in a case of an emergency guy. But it's obviously not an ideal situation. And, I know a lot of the people in that building are down right now. And it's just a matter of trying to get the depth chart in order and trying, I think, at this point to provide a united front for Zach Wilson.
Well, and I know my colleague and our friend Ian Rappaport on Game Day Morning said that the Jets knocked on the Rams' door before Rodgers for Stafford. Mm-hmm. And Stafford looked terrific, and I don't know why the Rams would pull the plug on anything that they feel is a surprising season. And Stafford loves it out here, and obviously they have a marriage for years to come. But what sort of YOLO names are out there of current starters in the NFL that the Jets could make the proverbial Godfather offer for, Albert?
The problem is here, Rich, is that we're at the point of the season where everybody still has hope, and so, I think the type of like Hail Mary you're talking about throwing would happen if a team was 1-7 at the end of October and you're close to the trade deadline, and maybe this team is having trouble getting a guy signed to an extension. We're still so early in the season. I mean, what sort of message does that send your fan base, on top of everything else,
right? If
you're detaching from a guy who would potentially be an answer for another team that's trying to contend. So I think the timing of it makes it more difficult. But, I would say like there's a lot of the things we thought about the Jets did come true last night. Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, like the young skill position talent is there. Some talent on the offensive line, the interior of the offensive line looks okay. The defense looks fast, looks physical, and it's got the stars that played really well last night, both Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams. But beyond that, like they've got depth all over the place. And so, you sort of wonder if this team, if this roster, the Jets roster, is strong enough to where you can, basically take a 6 or 7 week trial run with Zach Wilson. And if it works out, great. And if not, you explore your options at the trade deadline where more options might materialize because other teams, have gone the wrong way over the course of the first 2 months of the season. So I think that's sort of more than what would you be looking at. And remember, I mean, I would say like one thing that Robert Saleh said last night is pretty forthright, which is the idea that Zach Wilson could eventually make it is something that's been in the back of the heads of the Jets people for a while now. Now, it didn't look great last night, but there's a reason why they kept him around. And, I was told before they even traded for Aaron Rodgers that their ideal situation was keep Zach Wilson, sit him down for a year or two, and then hope that he turns the corner over that year or two that he's sitting behind Aaron Rodgers. And that was something that they approached Zach Wilson about while they were pursuing the trade, something they got his sign off on. So they still thought enough of Zach Wilson to keep him around in a potentially awkward situation with a Hall of Fame quarterback coming in. So I do think that there's some sentiment in the building right now. Like, let's at least see what Zach Wilson can do before we do anything too rash.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.